during the break. This is a long video. Face of monster is purposely blurred so that the show can pretend there is tension leading up to a reveal. Literally, this creative team is so uncreative that they were just repeating the same trope from the first episode and being stupid. Yeah. I thought that they were blurring the faces so that we didn't have to reveal how bad the prosthetics were. I think you're giving them too much credit. 2024 doctor now tells us that we are at life or death. I guess her using a defibrillator and having her hands inside Picard's chest for her words, not mine, didn't qualify as life or death. That's right. She said that she had her hands inside Picard. What did she see? What does it look like? She was inside a Sung-type android. Why didn't she just leave as soon as she saw it? She'd look at it. Okay, well, I'm a doctor, not an engineer, and just leave. There's nothing I can do here. I guess what? I don't know how robots work? I don't know. This is some crazy new advanced type of Sung-type android. I know that these androids are very close to human. I know that there's biosynthetics involved, but this is pushing it. Literally proving the point that Picard should be on a less arena. Raffi beams to Rios equipment that he needs. He almost seems shocked that a doctor in 2024 wouldn't possess the necessary equipment for a 25th century synthetic android. Yeah, and then she goes to use that device perfectly without any training. Raffi, without a word, immediately beams the exact instrument Rios needs. That's right, he doesn't even explain the problem exactly. Raffi just beams her this thing. Raffi has some amazing aim. The transporting the stabilizer into Rios' hands. How did she know? This is amazing. Yeah, good transporting job there. Good thing the Borg Queen didn't disable the transporters, eh? This show is so stupid. I really thought that she should have. Later on, the Borg Queen has a transport inhibitor on her body. That would have been the first thing I did with the last arena. Rios, a Starfleet captain who absolutely would have I already brought this up earlier, I think, would have basic medical and survival training, gives 2024 doctor a 25th century stabilizer, and encourages her to be in the moment. Remember the voyage home? What McCoy was saying about the doctors of that time? Think about that. You read that right. This is not a joke. This is actually something that happened in Star Trek episode made today. Rios expects her to know how to use it. He is not merely incompetent, but he is grossly negligent in his duties. These writers, producers, showrunner, etc. should all be replaced immediately. Yeah, at the very least, they should be replaced. We'll say that. 2024 doctor it legitimately asks if she'll kill him. Rios says he trusts her, as if that's an actual answer, and she stupidly proceeds anyway. The show is so stupid. 7 of 9 literally spent several years assisting the doctor on Voyager, correct? She is absolutely the best person to be treating Picard at this moment, correct? Wait, what? We're back with the Dream Not Laris and blurry-faced monster is magically no longer around or holding Dream Picard, Junior Edition. What kind of trash editing is this? I don't know what's happening. See that it's a dream? They're just pretending that they can do whatever they want, even if it doesn't make sense. Unprovoked and with no logic behind it, Dream Not Laris asks Boy if he is doing this on purpose. There's literally no motivational reason for Dream Laris not to ask this question, correct? Writers forget to write a scene whereby Dream Not Laris confirms that the little bit she is talking to is in fact Dream Picard. I guess he meant Boy, and not just some random imaginary representation just like monsters were. Exactly. I wonder how she just knew that was Picard. Who does Dream Not Laris know that the monster who choked her wasn't Picard she was trying to connect with? Yeah, I mean, you do wonder. Maybe Talon would do something wrong and then get it all wrong because she saw things that Picard wasn't seeing, or what she saw was a fake hallucination by Picard, right? Maybe she was taking this all too literally. A door appears in front of Dream Not Lyris and Dream Picard Junior Edition, and despite his claims suggesting otherwise, the door is in fact not white. Does he say the door is white and then it turns out it's not white or something? And they couldn't go back and fix it? I don't know, I don't remember that one. Back to the La Serena, where the cloaking device is not engaged because the crew is still incompetent and production team is without a showrunner that knows what they're doing. Sure hope that that cop doesn't wake up right about now. I know, I don't know what's going on with the police here. At least the replicators work, if only the crew used them to replicate 2024 cell phones soon after arriving. Oh man, that's right. The replicators were working and we didn't replicate useful things. Oh, they could have blended in well and avoided all the ridiculous shenanigans associated with this ridiculous story. Could even have made it a priority for the auto repair program itself, a stupid gobbledygook contrivance, so that their mission be only delayed an hour or so. So many things they could have done to make this work better once they got the replicator online. Once the replicator starts working, you're golden. You can start making tools for yourself. It's great. Trust me. Although I have to use the industrial replicator in the engineering stores bay. If you want food, you need to use the resequencer, and you need to have your own card to use it. So yeah, it's a little different than this, but we have rudimentary 3D replication technology for a non-bio material. 7, finally resembling the 7 I've watched for years, is literally working. Okay, I need to point something out here. This 7 never had augments like that from the Borg. She never had implants. This 7's body is the body of the Dark Universe 7, who was never a Borg. And she gets reborgified in the exact same way that our timeline 7 was. Makes you think. 7, finally resembling the 7 I've watched for years, is literally working hard to solve the problem of being locked out of the console. So naturally, this is the time when Raffi wants to talk to her about coffee. Fire those writers immediately. Exactly. Oh, look, the internal camera trope. Oh, there's the white door, still dumb. Still dumb. There's the white door, still dumb. In a twist that will surprise no one, Dream Psychologist is now Dream Papa Picard, yeah. I was spoiled on that because I had the subtitles on, and in the subtitles they called him Maurice. Why isn't Robert Picard anywhere? Surely the creative team didn't forget Picard's brother. They didn't, but they wrote in a sleazy line to get rid of him. It's just tasteless. So instead of Papa Picard being confirmed as a physically abusive individual, it now seems the show wants us to believe that Mama Picard suffers from severe mental health issues. No idea where Robert is. Yeah. Mama Picard suffers from an inexplicable and unexplained mental condition that apparently they don't fix. Nobody takes her to the doctor. Nobody forces her to go to the doctor. She's clearly insane. She cannot make this decision on her own. This is in the 2300s. It's just a little much. It's just a little much. Dream Picard suggests to Dream Papa Picard that perhaps he never really knew him, and because this is still a dream, further knowledge of him is not possible. Well, he found out that he died before he went bald, which doesn't make any sense. Dream Not Lyris feels compelled to have a pep talk with Dream Picard, Junior Edition, who, of course, will never learn to do anything with his pain. This is, of course, more vapid virtue signaling from a terrible writing staff. I think what's going on is that these writers... I've often heard it said to me that writers write what they know, and really good writers take it upon themselves to write as if they're not writing for themselves. You know what I mean? Like, if I start randomly writing, just from the top of my head, the writing will sound like my life, because my life is what I know. I think these writers are just writing what they know, and I think we're seeing the mental complexes of the writers get to the page. I think these writers probably have mental health issues themselves. I'm sorry to say that, with all due respect. These people might not be of sound mind. Picard wakes up for no reason whatsoever. I think the show equates Dream Mama Picard's diagnosis reveal with that of Picard learning something. This is where the episode gets very hard to understand. Rios transports 2024 Doctor and 2024 Kid to La Serena because, F the timeline. 2024 Doctor drops her coffee cup, and despite it smashing to bits, no coffee... Is that true? No coffee goes anywhere? I have to look at that. Maybe she just finished and took the cup anyway. Okay, so let me get this straight. Seven and Raffi can't keep an eye on Agborg, despite her center stage cringeworthy solo performance, but now suddenly have the ability to tap into what I can only assume is city closed circuit television footage. They didn't think to do this after they first arrived at the clinic with Picard. You know what? I don't care. This show is so stupid. Yeah, I don't know. I know what you mean, though. Apparently not Laris is a Romulan. Whatever, who cares? Apparently Laris is a Romulan. Whatever, who cares? My thoughts exactly. Whatever, who cares? Why are you a Romulan? You never brought it up. She's introduced herself to Picard. Picard says, "You're not a Romulan. You can't be related." Wrong. Okay. Hundreds of years later, she could still be related to Laris just because she's a human. They maybe intermarry, how that works. Like Spock. We know Spock. And then we just say, no, we go back on that. Oh, I was a Romulan. I just didn't want to tell you. And now you're left thinking, well, why bother? Why bother revealing that you're a Romulan? Why does Romulan stuff keep coming up in Picard? Does Picard just really like Romulans more so than others? Why does it just keep coming up? I think Romulans keep coming up because it's the one alien that the writers know about and know that people recognize. Okay, what happens? Star Trek is coming back. Okay, who do we write into it first? Well, Vulcans. Okay, who's the next people down on the list that people know? Well, people know about the Klingons. Okay, good, put the Klingons in. Okay, who's the next one that people know about? Well, people know about the Borg. Okay, put the Borg in. What's the next aliens that people know about? Well, they kind of sort of know about Romulans, but not as much as the other three. Okay, we'll make these characters Romulans then, just to make them aliens. Yeah, we'll go with it. I think that's why everything's Romulan shit now in Picard Season 1 and Season 2, to be honest with you. Instead of an original alien race. With some spectacular logic leaping, Picard comes to the conclusion that he must know Q in order to beat him at his own game. The way that episode ends is the craziest writing. I don't know what the conclusion we were drawing from that was. Honestly, I don't know. I can't figure it out. Not Guinan has a MacGuffin elixir that does something stupid. I hate everything about this. A MacGuffin elixir. That the pot or whatever. It's just a MacGuffin elixir. Yeah. Oh my god. Seven is talking about endorphins being needed to assimilate Agborg. This might be possibly the single stupidest thing I've ever seen a Star Trek ever made. Spock's brain is a masterpiece compared to the story idea that both assimilate only because the recipient experiences endorphins. Picard literally killed a crew member who was pleading him to end his life on the Enterprise E because the process of assimilation was excruciating, and with his last ounce of humanity wanted to die rather than becoming a Borg. Yeah, F the show, F the awful writing from the irresponsible writers, F Alex Kurtzman for wrecking this once beloved franchise. It's not just Alex Kurtzman, remember. This shit started with JJ. Make no mistake, this is an evolution of JJ. It's not JJ, it's an evolution of JJ. It's downstream. Okay? Yeah. Bar door opens and Picard wonders if it's Q, and for a second I really wanted George Wendt to make an appearance. Not Guinan is an asshole to her customer. Yeah, exactly. She was very mean to him at first. Oh, look at that. The whole federal agents suddenly appearing out of nowhere, every nook and cranny trope. Amazing that none of them appeared from those back rooms sooner. What with all the demons speaking out loud and bottles magically rattling. Yeah, it's very alarming that they didn't notice what had just happened, right? The whole building shaking. That could mean something. We should investigate that. Actual Guinan would never have been duped by this federal agent. You're so right. You're so right. Guinan could see right through your soul. She could see everything you're thinking. She's so perceptive. And Guinan wouldn't be so mean to this guy, for starters, but she would be able to see through his scam in 1 second. Guinan knows people better than they know themselves. Actual Guinan would never have been duped by this federal agent pretending to be a customer. Not Guinan didn't even know half the force was hiding in her stockroom. Yeah, very perceptive Guinan. It also doesn't explain why another Q didn't just show up when not. Yeah, it's funny how all this Q shenanigans, Q losing his powers and whatnot. It's funny we didn't have another Q interrupt this and talk to Q about what was happening. That would have been interesting to see. But we wouldn't want to confuse people watching this now who haven't seen that one episode of Voyager. If you know what I mean. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Say no more, say no more. It also doesn't explain why another Q just didn't show up when not Guinan drinks her magic juice. Is the show too dumb that they didn't even think of that? Just because John Delancey's Q is without powers doesn't mean they're all without powers. Exactly. Why doesn't another one fulfill the treaty by popping up instead? Is the entire Q continuum now without power? Maybe. Wouldn't that make for a far more compelling subject matter? Yes. The Q dying off would be so much better than this season, what we got. Credits finally roll on what may be the worst single episode of the worst Star Trek show ever made. Wait until episode 9, buddy. I hate this show. If you like it, that's great. I think Star Trek fans deserve... It's so funny reading the end of that. This tirade against this episode, and then at the end, if you like it, that's great. What a nice guy you are. I think Star Trek fans deserve better than this garbage. Yeah. So thanks a lot for the very, very dedicated and insightful and well thought out comment from Michael Strathmore. He wrote me basically a novel. J-Rod is back with Star Trek Picard Season 2 Episode 7 review. People can repress memories. There's no question about that. Hypnosis is a mildly dubious therapy. I think it depends on the practitioner in regards to the efficacy, because people can have false memories implanted if the psychotherapist isn't really careful with the words or question they ask during a regression session. Very important. Maybe Picard is going back into a false mental regression state that has been influenced by the world around him immediately before he got hit by that car. Really makes you go, It makes you go, Kevin Tipcorn for Star Trek Picard Season 2, Episode 7. The weirdest thing for me this episode was young Picard talking like a Cockney street urchin. I don't know the differences between these accents and stuff. I can't really hear it well. I don't know. I'm not educated on what different accents exactly are and the differences and what the names are. Despite having two extremely posh sounding parents and growing up in rural France and sounding like a posh old northern Englishman as an adult. Again, I don't know what northern English is like. Maybe Maurice shaved his head to look bald as a space fashion thing. The Elorian lore expanding was the only bit that was any good and was only hitting a low end void. Exactly. Expanding on what Guinan was doing was just a tiny blip of something a little bit kinda almost interesting, because Elorians are not perfectly explored in Star Trek. We've looked at them a bit. We haven't really gone very deep into them, but yeah. And Thomas Wedge is back. The Morris being bald in the Q vision in TNG is really a non-issue, considering we know John Luke had hair in his 40s, thanks to Beverly's alien. Yes, exactly. and do his flashback of him and her going to the morgue to see Jack's body. In TNG, John Luke was 48 years old when Jack died. He also had hair in the flashback when he was stabbed through the heart. Yeah, Picard had hair. The only mistake is the Tom Hardy photo of Cadet. No. I thought in Nemesis he said that he shaved his head on a dare. So he presumably lost his hair at some point in his 50s, as in the first TNG episode Encounter of Farpoint. Picard is 58 years old. No reason to assume something similar didn't happen to Maurice. But Maurice in this episode says he died before he lost his hair. Isn't that what he said? Am I wrong? I could have swore that Maurice in this episode of Picard said that he died having never gotten bald or something. At least I kept my hair, he said. I mean, I thought what he meant by that was that he had died without losing it. Am I literally wrong, or was I inferring something wrong? I don't know. I'll have to go back and check it out, but thanks a lot, Thomas Wedge, for bringing this up. An interesting issue. And thanks to Kevin Tipcorn as well. Star Trek Picard Season 2, Episode 7, The Wolf Squad. Very cool name. I'm just going to watch the old Star Trek. The new Star Trek, it doesn't exist. I'm glad that you can partition the two. That's a good skill to have. Again, The Wolf Squad for the same episode. You should review the old Star Trek. Undertaker 45, Star Trek Picard Season 2, Episode 8 review. I swear these writers have interns whose job it is to find the obscure thing in classic Trek, then find a way to interject into these crap and still have no idea what's going on. Yeah, I noticed that the last, modern Star Trek will have these weird deep cuts to past Trek that even catch dedicated people off guard, like Gary 7. People are miraculously good at forgetting the bad episodes. And there's a lot of bad episodes of old Star Trek where really dumb stuff happens. And they mine those episodes for future, for points, we'll say. They want to, say, look, we're real Star Trek. We're referencing this stuff here. And when you're just going to say, well, referencing stuff doesn't make it good. And then they'll say, well, hey, you wanted everything to stay the same. Now it's the same. And then you would say, you assume that I thought that. I don't think that. Weird references to old crap that was bad is not good. But yeah, there is weird little... in this episode, in the episode Mercy, we see Vulcans on Earth in what I presume is the 80s teleport away or transport. And also perform a mind meld. If you watch Enterprise, I'm not saying in the 1980s they didn't mind meld, but there was definitely, without spoiling anything, there was some confusion around the mind meld issue as to whether or not it was normal to do this. And I wonder, when did they invent transporter beams that were good for live Vulcans? Because they had it in 1980s here, because they teleported away or transported. Yeah, weird stuff deep cut references to some ancient TOS episode, and then they get stuff that we knew from Enterprise wrong, that was only a few years ago, or maybe over 15. So thank you, Undertaker 45. Nava for Star Trek Picard Season 2, Episode 8. Why didn't the Borg Queen take over the ship? It's the most advanced piece of technology. She didn't need the mercenaries. Just take the ship and destroy NASA. Yeah, I was asking that question too when I was watching it. I was wondering, why are we running around looking for metal from cars? Lithium, I might add, and is lithium in a car battery from 2024? a standard curve battery. I'm not a historian on that issue, but maybe somebody in the comments can explain it. Why not? Yeah, why not just take metal from the ship? Thanks, Nava. Mrs. Onyango. For Star Trek Picard Season 2, Episode 8. Lol, but yeah, I still love my Star Trek. I'm trying to be patient with Picard. You have the patience of a saint. Thank you, Onyango. Me too. I feel like Nomad. There are so many contradictions, I might blow up. Nomad appeared, I think, in the background of some episode in this season. Speaking of interesting cuts back to TOS. Just to leave it at that. Miss Onyango. Star Trek Picard Season 2, Episode 1. Oh, we went all the way back to Episode 1. Lol, your humor is realistically on point. Thank you for saying my humor is realistically on point. Mrs. Onyango. Again, Onyango for Star Trek Picard Season 2, Episode 6. Yes, I love everything Star Trek, but dude, your assessments are good. What an open individual you are. I love Star Trek, but your assessments are good. Are you saying that you love this show, but I'm complaining and you love that I'm complaining? Aren't you great? Yes, same person. For Star Trek Picard Season 2, Episode 7. Yes, we are grateful you are not an augmented Klingon. Well, I understand your review. I still like the episode. Great. I'm very happy that you liked it, and I'm just realizing now that I didn't I have to go. Don't worry if you saw yours go by and it wasn't hearted or liked. I'm gonna go fix that. Sometimes I forget these things. I get confused in my brain. We are grateful you are not an augmented Klingon. Did I say that at some point? Thanks, Miss Onyango, and Onyango again, Mrs. Onyango. Star Trek Picard Season 2, Episode 7. The trial never ends. Maybe this is the same trial from Encounter at Farpoint. Old Q up to his old tricks. Jet Screamer for Star Trek Picard Season 2, Episode 8. If you don't like this, you're sexist. Rick and Morty. I've never watched Rick and Morty. I don't know. There was a show, Rick and Morty, I think, was name dropped in this show in 2024. Did somebody on Rick and Morty say that if I don't like Picard, I'm sexist? Is there commentary on Star Trek Picard in Rick and Morty? Or is that just like a general thing that was said in Rick and Morty? I don't know. If anybody understands what that means, feel free to point it out. Merv's Tash for Star Trek Picard Season 2, Episode 9. This is the worst episode of this season. Talon's magic transporter only seems to work whenever they don't need it. It went missing in action for half the series. It worked to get them to the chateau, but they forgot they had it when her and Picard went through the dumb AF maze. The maze that now has Borgs embedded in its walls. Oh, this comment is from me. I just now realized that this episode is actually way more insane after having posted this review. The mind needs time to peel away all the layers of craziness. I agree with that guy. That's for Episode 9. After I posted, I realized so much more about it just thinking about it. Let me do my best Kurtzman fanfic impression and go super dumb. This is for Episode 9 again. Dr. Sun, goodbye, Picard. He motions for the Borg soldiers to kill Picard. Rios teleports in, but he instantly gets shot by the Borg soldier and drops his phaser. Rios falls to the ground. As a useless character he is. The Borg soldier then re-aims at Picard and fires. Picard stumbles back, but then he straightens up. The bullet has bounced off his forehead. Picard stumbles back, but he then straightens up. The bullet has bounced off his forehead. The Borg soldier fires fully automatic, but the bullets just bounce off Picard. Yeah, dude. This is freaking super Picard. Picard, then with super speed, moves towards the Borg soldier in a split second and snaps his arm in half. As the Borg soldier screams in pain, Picard rips the Borg soldier's head from his shoulder. Sung and the other Borg soldiers stand in shock. The second Borg soldier grabs up Rios' phaser to use against Picard. Picard looks at the second Borg soldier, and his eyes start to glow. Picard, make it so. 2 disruptor beams shoot from his eyes, engulfing the second Borg soldier. The Borg soldier slowly disintegrates as he screams in agonizing pain, similar to the Byron T disruptor. Yeah, okay. Picard's eyes glow bright and then return to normal. Sung stammers, "How? What?" Picard cuts him off as he reaches out with one hand, grabs Sung by the throat, and easily lifts him off to ground. Sung struggles, and eventually Picard snaps his neck and tosses Sung's body like a rag doll. Rios, nursing his second gunshot wound, says, "Admiral, how? I thought your body is like a regular human body and even has a normal human lifespan." Picard looks at his own hands as computer code flashes in his eyes. "It seems the body has the strength of 20 men, lightning-fast reflexes, built-in weaponry and combat skills, and impervious to damage." Rios, "But..." Picard, "It seems like the Confederation gave me some upgrades." Picard flexes his android muscles. "Stay here, I have a Borg Queen to kill." Picard teleports to La Serena using his own portable transporter built into his combat android body. End screen. I think that's dumb enough for Star Trek Picard. Paramount Plus, give me a job. Call him up. There's your resume. You just wrote your resume, buddy. Okay. Ooh. Oh my god, Strasmore. Strasmore, my dude. What? Okay. Hi again. This is Michael Strathmore for episode 9. This is my real-time questions and comments as I watch Star Trek Picard Season 2 episode 9. I only watch each episode once. My hope is that this will spark substantive reflection on this channel and others amongst fans. Read if you like, don't if you don't. Thanks in advance for your time. Part 1. We open with a storm on the horizon because there is no better way to telegraph to your fans that you're creatively bankrupt than to give us an old tired trope with the first few seconds of an episode. Doesn't the sun ever rise in France? Nope. Oh look, the ship still isn't cloaked, and herein presents a wonderful example of why this show, far more than most, asks the audience to logic leap on behalf of the writing staff, who consistently leave open gaps in the story that they themselves should have plugged. I guess the assumption we are supposed to make is that the cloak is offline. Of course, no one so much as even says this. So we as audience are left to logic leap in this moment despite the fact that the show should be doing this work, not us. Unfortunately, sloppiness means we also ask several additional questions that pulls us even further out of the story. Yeah. Cascading effect of asking yourself to solve the problems of this plot for you. Wouldn't someone at least stumble upon the ship like the French police officer did? Speaking of which, where is the French police officer? Last time we saw him, he was being moved off camera after having his spleen removed and his memory wiped. Are we supposed to assume that he's not still recovering nearby? Logic leap and guess, everybody. Yeah, just guess. Don't worry about it. Just guess. It's fine. Why hasn't the police followed up to retrieve him? Are we supposed to assume that he's back at home? Are people asking him about the contusions on his neck? What about the police vehicle? Wouldn't the department have come out to retrieve it? Nope, we have to either forget what happened or logic leap on behalf of the show. Are we really supposed to believe that France didn't notice this ship crashing on their soil? This is the show that expects us to believe that an FBI agent apparently, somehow has ample footage of her crew beaming here and there, but the entire resources of France and the NATO alliance somehow missed a large ship hurtling towards the French countryside. Do they not have satellite imagery anymore in 2024? If Wells is on top of things, then surely whole scores of French authorities would have descended on Chateau Picard within hours of impact to investigate this mysterious wreckage. Just follow the path of downed trees, everyone. Exactly. Anyway, Rios notices the transporters are offline. Before he can ask himself how, 2024 doctor, and I'm going to touch everything kid got here, a transport starts to occur, so I guess they're not offline, and remote transports like the one he just made himself recently can still take place. Okay, so wait. If that is true, then why isn't he assuming that Raffi, Seven, or Picard aren't also transporting to the ship in this moment? Would they not have told him they will be coming back to the ship too? Maybe not Lyris has some transporter tech to resolve this conundrum. Oh, that's right. Because the transport beam he sees now is green, and I guess that means bad guys. You know what? Whatever. Yeah, guess what? Green means bad in Star Trek now. It's green. It's Borg. Oh, green is bad. So let's logic leap and assume Rios' character would have insight into the Borg plans to come here. Fine. What does he do to prepare? Keep in mind that we should have evidence to show just how incompetent the writers are. The writers write these characters to be. The fact is, in the time since potentially learning of the plan for Agborg to retake the ship, Rios, a Starfleet officer, in fact a captain, has done nothing to at least show some preparedness for this very contingency. The second he learned Agborg was loose in the first place, he should have been preparing. But nope, he needed to first make the most ridiculous decision of bringing a 2024 doctor and Cake Kid to the ship, spending time sucking face, then setting traps for a potential Borg invasion. Did he even bother to arm himself when he knew they'd be coming? Anyway, so green transporter starts to appear outside, and Rios has the instinct to run outside, okay? Oh, now he goes to arm himself. Too late, smart guy. Borg drones transport right in front of him, and immediately don't shoot him for no reason whatsoever. But wait. This raises yet another issue. Am I seriously expected to believe that these best of the best mercenaries just let Agborg assimilate them? What? I mean, okay, let's assume the first dude was just totally into the blonde and the red dress and the grayish varicose veined face getting up close and personal, and somehow allowed for his face to be touched by her. Are you really suggesting that the other Merc soldiers who just witnessed his face glow, his eyes turn black, and his will to think for himself vanishing would just be like, cool, me too, please? That's right. What if she... Girardi started by assimilating just one of them, right? Wouldn't the other ones just run away? Agborg arrives, and Borg drones instantly remember they are in fact armed. Too late, smart guys. They ran off already, and of course, their scopes glow green. Now, oh my god, man, this campy vibe is reminding me of 1997 Batman and Robin, and that is not a compliment. Oh my goodness, I knew that. I know who Akiva Goldsman is. I know your goddamn secret. Look up who Akiva Goldsman is. I just remembered that Akiva Goldsman wrote that disastrous movie too. Oh wow, this aligns so many things now. How do these people keep getting work? Everything they do turns to shit. They're like a reverse King Midas. Everything they touch just turns to a clump of crap. Agborg goes after Rios and family, and oh wait, sorry, terrible editing. She apparently is going to sick bay for the corpse of the Borg Queen. I guess she lost her red dress and combat boots between camera shots. Does this mean Rios and family got away? Agborg gets tech off the Borg Queen body, and I instantly wonder if K-Kid got to fiddle with this too, or was he too busy playing with Eleanor's pointy ears to get around to it? Imagine the kid just finding Eleanor's body there. Also, this looked terrible. I hate when we do slow-mo for no reason. And Girardi slow-mo walks to the Borg Queen to steal her suit. And the costume is so cheap looking. Man, it's bad looking when she puts it on. Cut to Picard. Seven Raffi and not Laris appearing at the chateau. Wait, why didn't they just transport on the ship? Surely they wouldn't have known Agborg would be there by now. What fundamental reason would there be for not transporting where they did? Instead of beaming directly to ship's armory, the crew whines about not having to combat their enemies. Again, they don't know what Agborg has even arrived. We have to start setting traps. Yeah, because the incompetent Rios didn't. Yeah, you'd think. Rios number one shouldn't have brought these people to the ship, and number two, he definitely should have been arming himself to the teeth here. Especially when he realized the replicator was working. Rios and family joined the crew just in time for their arrival. Contrivances, am I right? Picard asks, is she coming? This confirms they didn't know she was on the ship, and yet thus the decision to transport to this spot makes zero sense. Maybe the crew can now throw wine bottles at the Borg. Seven likes to throw bottles. Picard claims that Agborg means to take the ship. This, of course, highlights one of the biggest issues there is with terribly written season. Why didn't Agborg just remain on the ship? Wow. Even if you somehow manage to purge 30 plus years of Borg lore from your brain and buy into the ridiculous notion that Borg needed endorphins and metal materials to assimilate, why wouldn't Agborg just get everything she needed from the ship? Clearly the replicators were working. Cake Kid got the cake after all. Just produce all the materials you need from them. Agborg literally could have become full strength with so much as anyone in the crew noticing. Could have assimilated the French police officer. Make him stand guard while she then repaired the rest of the ship. Could have then cloaked and flown to orbit. Yeah, the Borg Queen could have did so much. Could have then transported up a dozen or so humans at a time. Could have them assimilated, each of them easily. Could have them taken over half Le Bar before. That's the place we're in France, Le Bar. Before anyone in the incompetent crew so much as got a whiff of her plan. Could have left not Laris and the crew fixated on Renee Picard while she dominated humanity elsewhere. Girardi says she didn't do anything about stopping Raffi's throat from being crushed. So Girardi isn't able to interfere. So how exactly is she going to stop the Borg Queen from taking over the ship, as she states she will here? Wasn't she already been taking over the ship? Oh boy, Girardi preaches to the Borg Queen that they only assimilate species because, wait for it, they are lonely. And there you go. That's what killed the Borg forever. Not one time did they see anybody in all their thousands of years of assimilating planets. Did they not once see anyone who could argue with them at the level that Girardi could? So Girardi could just convince all the Borg through the Borg Queen that they're just lonely. When in fact, you could argue that the Borg are the least lonely people in the known universe. You can never be alone when you're a Borg. That's how they work. The Borg are lonely folks. Lonely is almost as ridiculous as the whole endorphins nonsense. How did this idea ever make it to an actual television show in the year 2022? Serious question. The 30 plus years of lore wasn't enough for these people running the show. They had to insert endorphins and loneliness as a driving factor for why the Borg are the way they are. They don't want conquest, they want friends. Holy cow. Is this not the most ridiculous thing you've ever heard in your life? All those evil historic figures you ever studied about in school that were hell-bent on world domination were only looking for new friends, everyone. Exactly. They just wanted to be loved. Dude, just be friends with Khan. Just walk up and just say, you know what, let's be friends. I think you're just lonely. Yeah, okay. And I wish to go on hurting you. Girardi uses a fractal lock on the ship systems. This makes absolutely no sense. MacGuffins on the show aren't usually this nonsensical. Well, there's always that bizarre toy they had in season 1 where they hold it and whatever they think, the toy makes it happen. Yeah. That's the craziest thing I've seen in Picard so far, to be honest with you. Emergency combat hologram. What is happening? This seriously might be the worst thing I've seen in this ridiculous show. It's pretty ridiculous, but the only saving grace here is that this ship is technically from an alternate timeline, remember? This isn't our La Serena, so I will point that out. Absolutely nothing makes a lick of sense here. If holograms with those safety protocols were allowed, then why wouldn't Rios think of this sooner? I don't know. You'd think if Rios took over this ship, he would have looked at top to bottom, right, and figured out everything it can do and what it can't do. Have a bunch of them ready to fight the Borg. You know what? This show deserves to be canceled now. Forget season 3 as the final season. This is an unmitigated disaster. Well, I'm not exactly in disagreement. This is your friendly reminder that Picard is 94 years old, a synthetic android, and who has lived at least 2 full lifetimes, one of which with a huge family complete with children and grandchildren, who has been a hero, who has been assimilated, who has conquered, who has loved, who has snuffed out thousands of Starfleet officers and civilians as Locutus. I don't think the writers knew about the episode The Inner Light. I mean, it's only if you go into Google and you type in best TNG episodes, Inner Light's going to come up. I don't think they knew about Inner Light from this moment in season 1 of Picard where a character says that Picard has no experience being a dad. He's got more experience than many people at being a parent, honestly. Picard has so many topics with which he could or should have unresolved issues, so naturally he does have unresolved issues, but not with any of that stuff, no. Don't be foolish. He has unresolved issues from when he was a child. No, not from his toxic relationship with his older brother, Robert, you silly goose. Nope. Unresolved issues from his parents. If only all of those countless sessions with Ship Counselor Troy could have... They threw in a sleazy, dark, twisted throwaway line in the episode Monsters, I think, where Maurice, in his mind, playing the role of the the psych evaluation person, says not even a Beta Z could crack this. You set up a wall so high, even a Beta Z couldn't get over it. So somebody in the background is being like a canon police and saying like, oh, we can't do that, we can't do this, blah, blah, blah. And their solution when they get this is to not change their writing. Their solution is to throw in one tiny line written in at the last second just to cover it up. We're just covering our tracks. We're not weaving a sensible trail through the woods. We're barreling straight through the way we wanted to go anyway, as the crow flies. And to hide the evidence, someone behind us is covering our tracks. That's what this is. That's what the writing style is. They wanted to have his mother commit suicide. Somebody on the staff said, wait a minute. There was that one pesky episode of TNG where you saw a vision of his mother when she was old. What are we going to do? Oh, well, maybe we should write it so that doesn't happen. Let's just write it so that doesn't happen. Let's make something else happen. Well, no, we're already so far along with his mom killing herself. Let's just throw in a line where it says, oh, Picard often imagined his mother old. For no reason. One-off throwaway lines to cover your mistakes. Maybe they could have probed into this topic At the time, Jean-Luc learned of his brother's and nephew's tragic ends in that horrible fire. Oh well, but enough about that. Let's play hide and seek. Maybe we'll finally figure out where Robert has been hiding all this time. Yeah, imagine if they found him. That would be funny. He didn't die. He was just camping out down in the catacombs somehow. That would be awesome. Let's go stupid. Let's just go full stupid. Who cares anymore? I don't care. Picard insists that not Laris transport Rios and family to safety. Exactly how did Rios and family make it past dozen Borg drones and transport it outside anyway? This is one of the worst things about this episode. Why doesn't not Laris simply beam the Borg drones into space or the moon and thus immediately stop this threat? There is a moment where Raffi and Seven in this episode have to run through a field of Borg drones and a hail of gunfire, and all they got is like a knife, I think. And they somehow make it through and don't die. And they even manage to knife somebody as they're running. Cartoon. It's a friggin' cartoon. Only now in episode 9 does Picard fully contemplate the ramifications of him deciding to leave the Borg Queen unattended alongside the incompetent Girardi when he did. Yeah, maybe. I was screaming at him in that episode when they left Girardi alone with the Borg Queen. Screaming at them not to do that. And they just did it. Minutes have gone by. And it's inconceivable that a dozen Borg drones haven't managed to completely incapacitate the 3 remaining crew members and not Laris. Maybe Agborg should have shown them where the 25th century weapons were stored. Like, guys, like, a few Borg can overrun a Sovereign-class starship with well-trained officers making the best decisions as they go, using all tactical knowledge they've built up fighting the Borg to this time, and still kind of almost lose to the Borg. So this is, you telling me Borg... A platoon of Borg soldiers can't kill 3 people with no weapons. Garbage. Why is Sung here? This makes absolutely no sense. Wait, why does Picard know Sung was promised a legacy? Oh yeah. How does he know that? Only Girardi talked to Sung. How did Picard know that? How did I not think of that? You're pretty smart, Mr. Commenter Man. Is Sung referring to Agborg as his new friends back there, as in plural? Perhaps, I don't know. Sung is ridiculous. Yeah, Sung is... I liked him as soon as he was introduced in this. He quickly turns into a Scooby-Doo villain. He just becomes a complete cartoon Scooby-Doo James Bond villain. It's not befitting of Brent Spiner. Brent Spiner is better than this. He tried a little bit, but he's got nothing. They gave him nothing good to work with. It's not Brent Spiner's fault. It's not John Delancey's fault. It might be Patrick Stewart's fault. He has creative control here. That's very shocking. But Borg drone gets the jump on Seven, and Raffi, instead of just shooting the woman through the window, I guess this fight proves Seven's ribs and spine are just fine from crashing into the dumpster. Anyway, I'm confused as to why this Borg drone can't beat up these 2 women. I thought these mercs were the... Yes. He should have been able to pound them. He's like private security mercenary guy. He's already the strongest of the strong for humans of this time. And then he gets Borg improvements. I would have liked to see maybe a little bit of tactics involved in how they killed him. Like, maybe they had to actually, like, trip him or something. Like, you run ahead and do this, and then I'll distract him here, and then you throw this thing at him. And, like, some thought into it, Like, use your brain. Do Starfleet stuff to figure this out. Like, we're not invincible, right? We're probably very strong in Starfleet, to be honest, with the training programs we have. But we're not trained mercenary turned Borg strong. I thought these mercs were the best of the best. They are. I guess our 2 crew members are lucky that only one of the dozen Borg drones are here in this moment. Exactly. Why did the Borg drones turn their scouts back on exactly? That's bothered me the entire episode. Why do they have those laser lights and things on? Why? Just to be cool looking? Neither Picard nor not Laris immediately picks up the dead Borg drone's weapon. Maybe they explode when you pick them up. I don't know. Not Laris seems to want to distract Picard with talk about his childhood trauma instead of escaping with their lives. Not only is this ridiculous, but also grossly negligent of her. Why are they down here at all instead of simply transporting to where they want to go? Oh, that's right. Because this is a terribly written show that desperately wants us to be invested in this ridiculous childhood trauma storyline. And also desperately needs a contrivance to keep Rios, 2024 Doctor, and Cake Kid together, but away from the action. I know. I don't understand. They beam Rios away because he got shot once. Right? But yet, Raffi and Seven can run through an army of these Borg drones and survive. This episode kills Rios forever. It makes him into a complete idiot. He is a completely useless moron now. And better yet, he abandons the ship at the beginning. That stuck out at me. It's one of those things that makes you gasp when you see it in Star Trek, a captain abandoning the ship when the enemies are coming. There was something that just didn't sit right. I don't care if you're gonna die. Don't abandon the ship. There's a reason why you don't. There's always a chance to win. Don't abandon it. And then definitely as you're running away, don't say, I shouldn't have got you guys into this. Because you're admitting failure to the audience in that way. Just don't do it. It's stupid. Seven speaks loudly enough that the Borg drone should hear her, since they are about 10 feet away. That's another thing about this season and series, by the way. People just talking out loud to each other about what they're about to do, and the enemy is a few feet away. No good idea of the space between things. They're not logical spacing between things. Like I don't have a good idea of the geometry with which the scenes take place in this. Instead of shutting up and sneaking out, Raffi chooses this moment to talk about Seven's career choices. Again, lovers quarrel out of nowhere for no reason. Raffi tells Seven that she sounds like a captain, even though Seven doesn't say anything especially captain-like in this moment. I never saw Seven do anything in this season that made her look like she could be a captain. I saw her character being denigrated into arguing with someone over nothing, stuff that happened in the past and was not relevant, and did so at the detriment of the task at hand. That's what I saw. I saw people getting distracted for no reason. Seven tells us that Janeway threatened to resign from Starfleet if they wouldn't accept Seven into the service. Seven responds, Starfleet says no and makes Janeway an admiral. Didn't Icheb get into Starfleet as depicted by this very show? Yeah, they didn't seem to remember that Icheb last season was in Starfleet. They also didn't seem to remember that Starfleet isn't just being a former enemy. That doesn't disqualify you from Starfleet. It never really did before. And anytime that came up, the issue was resolved immediately. You know, there's lots of different aliens in Starfleet. You know, and you're not exactly alone in Starfleet. You're surrounded by your peers. You're surrounded by people who can not second guess you, but they can offer sober second opinions. There's a chain of command for a reason. If you're a former Borg, you're not exactly going to be spy material. Let's say that for the enemy forces. I mean, this whole argument is dumb anyway. Anyone would imagine that she would end up in Starfleet. And it also calls into question what happened with the Maquis. There's Maquis members on Voyager, right? Did they just arrest Chakotay as soon as he came back? He's more of a willing enemy to Starfleet than Seven ever was. It calls so many things into question because it's written so stupid. I give it up. Went full Ranger. Guess this didn't work out with Chakotay then. And my next, you're anticipating me. I didn't read that line yet, and I was already talking about Chakotay. You're anticipating my thoughts. Wait, why didn't Seven and Raffi just follow Picard if he knew of a path to the other side of the vineyard that didn't include fighting dozens of Borg drones? I couldn't even figure out why we were trying to get where we were going. When I reviewed this episode, I honest to God could not remember why Picard was in the catacombs. I couldn't review it right. I couldn't logically tell you. I just watched it. I watched it, went to sleep, watched it again minutes before reviewing it just to refresh myself. And I could scarcely tell you what happened in the episode. I couldn't figure it out. In my brain, it was just a jumble. It was just a field of angry skeletons on fire screaming at me and throwing bones at me. I couldn't figure out what was going on. Wait, why didn't Seven and Raffi just follow Picard? Okay, we read that. Seven and Raffi make a dash for it, and incompetent Borg drones don't immediately shoot them down. Are they best of the best or not? Mercy, I've seen better aim from stormtroopers. Yeah. Stormtroopers, the classical bad guy who can't shoot, is better than these guys. Agborg is looking for a hologram. This is ridiculous. Wouldn't their bullets just fly? I couldn't understand this either. Why were they shooting at him? I was like, holographic characters are very powerful. I just don't know. Like, why did Elnor even have to do? Why couldn't he just walk right through them and just pulverize them? I don't know. Like, not to, I mean, just looking. The only out we have to explain this is that this stuff works differently on a Confederacy ship. That's the only out we have, and it's sad, Wouldn't their bullets just fly through? Why isn't the hollow Elnor just disappearing and reappearing on command? Why is he choosing weapons instead of just recreating them in his hands? This hollow Elnor could literally drop grenades in every room and almost instantly end the threat. I would assume, but I don't. It's so sad that we have to just rely on the fact that this is not our original ship. 2024 Doctor orders Rios around as if she knows more about what is going on than he does, despite being someone who cannot possibly understand more than Rios does in this current situation. Then again, Rios is also an idiot, according to this episode, so you never know. K-Kid is asleep. You know what? Maybe K-Kid is dying because Agborg was smart enough to tamper with the food replicators. I said that in my review. I freaked out because after the kid ate the cake, he started complaining of stomach problems. I lost my mind when I heard that in the episode, and I subsequently lost my mind in the review. That's the most frightening thing I've ever heard in Star Trek. Our ship is Borgified. A youth, a minor, an innocent kid ate food from a replicator, and then a minute ago started complaining about stomach problems. Uh-oh. I think we just Borged a kid. Just imagine if that happened. What would Rios do? Rios incorrectly tells 2024 Doctor that a tricorder will help with his bullet extraction. Never mind, the 2024 Doctor shouldn't have one clue on how to use a tricorder. Just shut up and logic leap on behalf of this terrible show. And if you watch short treks, those nasty, despicable, short little films that they made in the Discovery era, there was one of them where a Starfleet officer couldn't figure out how to use his tricorder. Like, he couldn't understand how it was supposed to work. Like, he had accidentally messed it up. And now this person from 2024 can use this seemingly much more advanced device. Okay. Okay, buddy. All right, bud. That makes sense. Absolutely no signs of Picard's so-called claustrophobia present itself as he navigates these underground passageways, not as an adult, not as a child. Just made up crap just to try to add drama. Why would Papa Picard lock Mom Picard in a room instead of getting her treatments that were readily available? I know. This is not 2100. This is like what was this, like 2310. This just doesn't happen at this time. You just don't get to a point where a human being can be like this. Like, it just doesn't, I don't believe it. Like, it just doesn't, like. And they don't even try to even explain what the problem is, because they can't figure it out either. They're too scared to put a name on what the actual mental condition is because they can't figure it out. So we're left to just assume, right? Logic leap, as you would say. It's because the showrunner, writers, and producers don't know what the most mental health afflictions have been cured by this time in the future, isn't it? I think they know that a lot of these things are cured, but they decided that the drama that it gives you outweighs the logic, and so they decided not to even name it. That's the key. Realizing that they didn't name it was because they couldn't figure out how it worked in this day and age, being 2300 something. Picard and not Laris, who have been doing little more than distracting themselves with useless chatter, seem shocked that Borg drones have caught up to them. I think the writers, they either they didn't know anything about how the Borg really work, or they knew the show that they wanted to write, and they just picked the Borg for it. Like, they just said, well, we have to use the Borg. Well, let's just fudge the truth a little bit to make it work this way. Oh, look, more centuries-old guns and ammunition that still works perfectly. Yeah, I was wondering about that. I don't think I brought it up in my review, because I don't know enough about weaponry from that era of Earth. But can you fire like a gun that has been sitting there for like 70 years? Like, will that work? Like, I thought that these things have to be dry to work or something. Like maybe the powder in the bullet has like water has seeped into it, maybe, or it's gone rotten. Like, does anybody know more about guns from that era? I only know about phasers. Anybody who knows more, feel free to tell me in the comments. Sung and two of the best his best Merc Borg's drones turn to see Picard shooting. The synthetic android hits one of them, but instead of it immediately returning fire, the second Borg drone is conspicuously not in the next shot. Did he duck for cover? Why would any Borg drone duck for cover? Borg drones use an adaptive shield technology, right? So they have like a kind of like, imagine like a constantly rotating frequency shield around them that you have to constantly try to thwart. They're always adapting to the situation, right? That's what makes them so compelling as a villain. But these guys, I don't know. We're trying to make up this excuse that the Borg now needs to get access to materials to Borgify stuff, when it wasn't the case. Like in Nemesis, the Borg Queen Borgified the ship like so fast, it was so frightening. Like, and I mean, admittedly, she doesn't have access to as many materials maybe now, but then you have to factor in the fact that she was already on the La Sirena and should know how to get materials from the La Sirena. So it's like, it defies logic a little bit. Like, it makes you wonder why it was written this way. Most of this plot was written in order to cover up their own mistakes, right? It's writing on the fly. It's writing backwards. They know the conclusion they want, and then they have to figure out how to write it to get there. Instead of writing it one logical step to the next logical step and then have a satisfying conclusion, they just wrote a insane conclusion, and then they try to figure out how to get it to that point. It's backwards writing. That's why it sucks. We needed like 2 years of rewrites on this for this to make sense, by the way. There's no way. Sung and two of his best Merc. Yeah, we read that part. Seriously, why is Sung even there? He's not armed, he's been shot at, and yet he is front and center. I don't know why he's in the front. It doesn't make sense. Hollow Elnor is immediately confronted by Agborg and four of the best Merc Borg drones, and isn't gunned down immediately. This is not merely a terribly written show, but it's also a boring action show. The action in this is pathetic. This is some of the worst choreographed action with guns I've ever seen in a show. In this episode, there's a shot where Talon picks up a rifle, and while taking cover, looks like she's just begrudgingly shooting people without changing the expression on her face, just lazily holding a gun like this, and it looks like they edited in the laser fire out of it to where it needed to go, and without regard for how she was aiming it. Like, it didn't really feel like it matched. It was the laziest thing I've ever seen. And yes, phasers do have aim assist. They have a certain amount of autocorrect in them, but I don't know about this Romulan phaser. Disruptor. It's not named, I don't think, but it looks like a Romulan weapon. Yeah, they literally shoot everything except Hollow Elnor because they're incompetent as everyone else in Star Trek Picard. Yep. With absolutely zero explanation, Raffi and Seven suddenly appear in the same room that Hollow Elnor is hiding. Yeah. I guess I imagined all those best of the best Merc Borg drones that Raffi and Seven were running towards. They just passed any Borg drones on the ship too. Wow, this is ridiculous. Yeah, they just ran past them. Don't worry about it. Raffi immediately runs to Hollow Elnor as if real Elnor isn't still dead. She's a baby. She has the mind of a baby. And she loves Elnor, even though she has her own family that you would think, if you wrote this correctly, she would be reconnecting with. Do the right thing. Write characters that do the right thing. Don't have them adopt adult babies to replace their real family. It's disgusting. Hollow Elnor acts like he recognizes Raffi without any logic to inform us that a hologram would recognize Raffi in the first place. In fact, it is far more likely that he assumed Raffi and Seven were also assimilated and/or threats trying to control the ship. What is happening right now? Why is Raffi choosing this moment to talk to Hollow Elnor about her feelings? She even acknowledges that this isn't him. This is entirely self-serving and delusional. Am I nuts? Did the best of the best Merkborg drones and Agborg not just watch the Hollow Elnor run into this room? Is there any reason why they aren't breaking this room right now? Maybe use the back door that Raffi and Seven just did to get there. Is there any reason why Agborg still hasn't armed them with 25th century weapons? I don't understand why they don't just have Borg arms and insane, unimaginable Borg weaponry that they would have. If you get assimilated, your arm would just turn into a freaking cannon. Like, it's crazy what they can do, but they can't do anything in this show. Hollow Elnor states that he possesses the shared recollection of Elnor's last breath. What? This is, of course, utter nonsense. This Hollow Elnor is merely a construct of Girardi, who has been absolutely no special insights into the thought process of Elnor as an individual in his final moments. This is total gobbledygook writing. It's gobbledygook writing, but it's also, admittedly, an effect produced by a ship that we don't know much about. This is the alternate universe, alternate timeline, La Serena. Apparently, technology is a lot more advanced in the Confederacy. I don't know why, but it is, because they can just scan people's brains as soon as they enter and then just copy them into a hologram. Frightening externalities to that idea, by the way. I don't like it. Raffi tells Hollow Elnor that she is afraid of being alone. You know what, Raffi? Get a dog like a regular person. Oh. Searing. So even Raffi and Hollow Elnor apparently make it to the transporters without issue because, I don't know, Agborg and the best of the best Merkborg drones are absolutely incompetent to stop them. They don't even bother just to show them trying to access the room that Hollow Elnor ran into. Instead, they just randomly patrol a hallway he shouldn't be in. The incompetence knows no bounds with this show. Seven beams Borg drones into the very walls that Picard and not Laris are walking by. How convenient. If only not Laris used her own transporter to do this very thing, we could have spared all nonsense in this horrible episode. I was always wondering that. How come she can't use her transporter all the time? She has like a handheld transporter. At least throw in some line saying that it's just the Borg Queen disabled it by putting an inhibitor on it when I wasn't looking or something. Just something, anything. Just say something. Or it needs to charge up for a long time. Or you have to stop it and like calibrate it before you use it and it's complicated. Just say something. Say something like that. Agborg equips herself with a sword and not a firearm because no reason whatsoever. Apparently Agborg just has been hiding tentacles somewhere. Makes no sense whatever. Seven gets impaled and I couldn't care less. I mean, I love the character of Seven, but this show is so bad that I almost want her to die just so that she could be spared from appearing in this nonsense show ever again. Yeah. Because New Trek cannot possibly go a few minutes without talking about feelings. Yeah, it's bad in this show, but it was horrific in like season 2 and 3 of Discovery. We get Agborg unable to stab Seven because the Girardi side of her neural soup is feeling too many feelings. Ooh. Hollow Elnor suddenly has disappeared for no reason whatsoever. I thought that maybe one of those tentacles hit his hollow emitter. As to why the ship just can't recreate another one, I don't know. Like, I mean, maybe if the ship had the ability to generate hollow emitters that could operate an autonomous program, how come we couldn't just transport in another one? I don't know. Maybe you can only have one at a time, and then when that one went away, it takes time to load it or something. Again, I'm making a logic leap for the show. I'm doing the show's job for it. Girardi gives the sheer effing hubris speech to the Borg Queen. Yeah, exactly. Alison Pill is doing her eyeball acting again. She suffered from this physical affliction all throughout season 1, and I was so pleased to see it vanish in season 2. Alas, it's back. It's a telltale sign that the actor is faking it so hard, and who can blame her? The script is terrible. Even this talented actor cannot go through this wretched dialogue. Seriously, watch her eyeballs. She forces him to flutter when she is faking vulnerable emotions. I've never noticed that. I guess I'm not as observant as you are. Maybe you should be reviewing these episodes. I don't know a lot about acting, but maybe that's true. You know, people maybe will move their eyes around a lot when they want to fake that they're having some kind of emotional reaction. Sung and the Borg Queen are absolute cartoons in these moments. They just need the mustaches to twirl. Exactly what I've been thinking. Girardi is trying to suggest that 7 is the very best that a Borg could be, without a sense of irony that 7 was just like every other Borg, hence their designation actually being 7 of 9, just a number. Yeah, she's not... I mean, I don't know every Borg. I mean, I have to imagine that there's other successful ex-Borgs. I mean, we just had Hugh last season. I guess Picard is not the best that a Borg could be. Or Hugh. Nope. See this bitter woman here? The one with a lot of grievances and who admits to murdering indiscriminately? Let's emulate that. Let's build a universe of 7s. Barf. That is correct. Why does this alternate timeline Borg Queen even know who the 7 is? Does she possibly think that Girardi might be referring to the Confederation president? The one who conquers the galaxy? Lol. They did try to say earlier in this season that the Borg Queen has knowledge of alternate timelines. She's kind of got, like, sensitivity to temporal stuff, so maybe that's how she knew. Wait, why isn't not Lara switching her transporter back on again? You know, so she doesn't get murdered by the best of the best Merc Borg drones? Rios now blows off 2024 Doctor. Guess you shouldn't have brought up marriage until at least day 3. Yeah. Apparently Rios is suddenly trying to protect it being the future, which is completely counter to most everything he's done this season. Remember when he told that ICE agent exactly who he was and what the future had, like, what the future had in store, and he was like a starship captain and all this blah 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 stuff, and then that came back to bite them in the ass when that FBI agent actually listened to it and took it into consideration? Remember that, Rios? Is he going to be reprimanded for that? If I was Picard, as soon as I met him again, I would have slapped him for saying that. Cut back to Picard, for some reason he hasn't been shot yet. I don't know. Oh look, another boring fight scene. Rio versus incompetent best of the best Merc Borg drone. And sure, okay, Rios beats him up. Right. As if. You can't just beat these people up if they're Borg. You have to... This episode operates... You have to be able to watch this episode. You have to have your mind operate as if these aren't really Borg drones. That's how I had to watch it. They're like 10% of a Borg drone, maybe. Oh, wow. So Agborg is assimilating 7 that way. This is a fate infinitely worse for her than any physical death. Seriously, this is as egregious a choice for the show to make as turning Picard into an android. That's right, we're supposed to be all upset by 7 going back to being a droid. Did I just say droid? I mean Borg. But yet, Picard is an android. Don't worry about it. Now that Rios is here again, why isn't not Laris transporting these bad guys into a wall exactly? Rios slightly slashes as the Borg drone at the Borg drone, and I think we were supposed to assume he's dead now? You'd never be able to kill a Borg like that. Just hit him with a melee weapon and then just... Oh, I guess he's dead. No. Rios warns Sung that Phaser is about to blow. Why? I couldn't figure this out either. He just told him that it was going to blow up because his DNA didn't match, giving him time to throw it and then run away in a poof of smoke like a cartoon. Like, since when is DNA needed to unlock a phaser? This is, of course, utter nonsense. I don't know. Is that a Confederacy phaser? And how did they know he needed DNA to unlock it? Whatever. Sung tosses the phaser in the air, and I swear the Slash Borg drone isn't even in the shot anymore. The Slash made him vanish. The cost in saving 7 is that her same Borg implants are back. Wait, what? Surely they are going to explain at least this right. They can't possibly expect us to logically this much nonsense, can they? Remember, that body never had Borg implants before. Her body is technically the body of an alternate character from the Confederacy timeline that we stole. We stole these bodies, by the way. Picard envisions the strangest memory, that of his mother committing suicide. This is too important a subject for me to make a snarky comment on, so I'll simply say that I didn't appreciate the manner with which this important subject was handled at all on the show. I sincerely wish Picard's older mother photo didn't appear in his family photo album in Star Trek Generations. I did allude to that photo earlier. Wow, maybe I missed it again, but yeah, what happened to the contrivance that is the Hollow Elnor again? I don't know. Hey look, the sun does rise in France. Hey look, the ship still isn't cloaked. Seven informs Picard of Agbor's cryptic message. One Renee must be live while another must die, and Picard doesn't so much as bat an eyelash for his dead nephew. Hollow Elnor and Agborg fly off, and I honestly envision this duo in a sitcom moving forward. Call it Songs and Swords, lol. That's it. This show remains an utter mess. I'm heartbroken. If you made it this far, then thank you. Thank you, actually. Again, if anyone likes this show, that's great. I'm not here to tell you otherwise. I am here, however, to remind you that better Trek is possible. Not now like this great video because... now like this great video because content creators work their butts off for enjoyment. And feel free to comment on this video before commenting on my novel, lol. Thank you, and see you for the next episode. Thanks a lot. You're writing very, very long comments. Thank you for your enthusiasm with regards to commenting. Keep it up, I guess. Friday Ray for Star Trek Picard Season 2, Episode 9. Picard has jumped the shark via a Discovery-era shuttle. Yeah, they like those Discovery-era shuttles, don't they? They keep appearing everywhere, no matter what time frame they're in. Thanks for the comment. Calumetto for Star Trek Picard Season 2, Episode 9. To hell with the butterfly effect. Let's kill 20 or so mercenaries turned Borg in 2024, eliminating thousands of people from the timeline leading into 2401. After all, they're the Picard series version of red shirts. I'm sure they don't have children that do anything consequential. Ugh. As long as Picard's ancestor, that he strangely didn't know about before, even though her name is Picard, makes it to Europa, then everything will be fine, and the Borg Queen finally got a hug. And her heart grew 3 sizes that day. I guess now she can stop assimilating the Who's in Whoville, and we can all sleep soundly in our beds. To be fair, in the first episode, I think he mentioned one of his ancestors, his aunt. He said aunt or something. That's how I knew that character was going to be important when they singled it out in the first episode when he was delivering that speech at Starfleet Academy. Go back and look at it. It's still insane, but they did technically mention it. Thanks a lot, Calumetto. Calumetto again for the same episode. My guess is that Q's last act will be make Captain Picardocchio back into a real boy from being an android. Yeah. Q's gonna turn him into a real boy. Just imagine if Q snapped his fingers, made Picard a real boy, and then he just immediately died from old age, standing there. Ugh, he just fell over dead. Ledic, or LEDC, for Star Trek Picard Season 2, Episode 9. Rios telling Sung he has a rigged weapon. Why? Just let it explode. And if that wasn't bad enough, Sung throwing an explosive literally 2 feet above the heads of Picard et al., and no one even gets so much as scorched. I mean, what? Ridiculous. Star Trek Picard Season 2 is the new nadir of the franchise. Oh, the young doctor, just talking like a duck to water with 25th century Starfleet tech. Taking like a duck to water with Starfleet tech from the 25th century. Lamau. Edit. I wrote this before you mentioned all these points. Lol. Thank you, LEDC. Friday Ray is replying. Agreed. How stoned, stupid are these so-called writers? They need to work at Disney. A lot of them probably did work at Disney at one point. Simon H. for Star Trek Picard Season 2, Episode 9. Icheb was the Borg that she practically raised, and remember last year he was a Federation officer and he died. So why was he allowed to be an officer, but she who trained him could not? Exactly. Not only is Icheb just a Borg, Icheb was a Borg that could totally vouch for Seven. She had a golden ticket to Starfleet. I mean, she had an in already. That's another good point. I never really put that together in that way. It's true. Thank you, Simon H. Undertaker 45 again returning for Star Trek Picard Season 2, Episode 10. How did you feel about Stranger New Worlds? Can't wait to hear. Yuka Free for Star Trek Picard Season 2, Episode 10. Thank you for watching this so I don't have to. Thank you for your service. This is so bad, it feels like he's thanking a veteran who just who just bravely ran through a hail of gunfire, not unlike Raffi and Seven did in this stupid episode. Star Trek Picard Season 2 Episode 10 review. Kenny Fordham. Where's Q's son? Doesn't he care that his dad's dying? the silliness in the content we're getting like an equal. The show is getting so silly, and like the comments are like linearly progressing in silliness to go along with the silliness of the show. I love it. Kevin Tipcorn for Star Trek Picard Season 2 Episode 10. Excellent analysis. I'd only quibble with one thing. The creepy vibe from Will Wheaton as a traveler was the most convincing part of it for me. I always got big Stranger Danger vibes from the Traveler as a youth. As did I, but I took it as just being the fact that the Traveler was like an alien. Wesley is a human, right? Or at the very least was a human. So I didn't really equate the fact that he would take on the Traveler's Stranger Danger vibe necessarily. Like, I mean, if that worked for you, that's fantastic. Stranger Danger vibe, maybe in an awkward way, is an interesting trait to have for a character who was like recruiting for the Travelers. Like, it could be dramatically interesting, but on the same token, that makes it difficult for me to believe that Corey would just follow him. But I'm glad that scene worked for you. I will say I didn't hate the scene, really. It was just strange, and Will Wheaton, I think, like, it felt like I was watching Will Wheaton, not Wesley. I'll say it like that. But thank you a lot, Kevin Tipcorn, for your comment, and I'm glad that worked for you. That about does it for the comments so far. Thank you so much for all these excellent comments. Thank you for your own analysis. Thank you for your own insights. I appreciate every single one of these comments. If you liked it, if you didn't like it, just the fact that you're commenting is very important to me. There's nothing worse than responding to something with absolute apathy. Ignoring a video is the worst thing you can do on my behalf. If you like a video and you comment, that's great. If you didn't like it and you comment, that's great. You see, there's nothing worse than total disengagement. And looking at the metrics for these videos, I can see that a lot of people have completely disengaged from Discovery. Picard seems to have hit a nerve. A lot of people are still actively engaged in the character of Picard and the TNG cast, so we're getting a lot of traction on these videos because it hurts people. You know, it hurts their heart, and you found their weak point. You know, it's so sad, and it's frightening, and it's cheap, and it's crass. And this show, I feel, is just a vanity machine. It's just a vehicle to transport Patrick Stewart through a show and to transport clout into his clout wallet. It looks bad on Patrick. No disrespect. So sad to see people disengage from Star Trek, you know. Just think if Star Trek Discovery came out 10 years ago, people would be so much more engaged, you know, and trying to actually watch these reviews. It's so sad that people have disengaged at this level from Star Trek, and I pray that it doesn't seep through into Strange New Worlds. We need to if something is better, we need to give it a chance, because this is insane to see a top shelf sci-fi franchise like this be so disengaged with, never trending, and not revealing true numbers on like analytics for how these episodes do. We just have to. We're reading the tea leaves here, as it were. So again, thanks a lot to everyone who commented. I'm Lieutenant Mark, and note to self: don't wait so long before doing the next comment review video. So I'll see you guys when I see you in the Strange New Worlds review, which is coming up very soon. Thanks a lot.